Hello, everybody. It's been a while, and my apologies for that. I had been dealing with some health issues, not coronavirus related this time around, thank goodness, but nonetheless. So had some problems with that, and then I had a problem with my computer. Some of you might know that I've been using Windows 7, and I refuse to upgrade. Well, Adobe kind of forced me to. So the most recent Adobe update for even my outdated Photoshop and Lightroom were not compatible with Windows 7 at all, or at least with whatever the driver setting that I had on my particular desktop. And my Photoshop stopped running, so I had to bite the bullet and deal with backing up my entire system, which took days because I'm running, a 50 terabyte, if I think actually larger than that now. System was close to a million images total stored away, and everything had to be carefully, updated, converted, yada yada yada, and then put back into my system after the Windows 10 update, which I'm running now. Can't say I'm very happy about that, but so be it. Anyways, but at least now I get a chance to use the most up-to-date Adobe products because the latest versions were not compatible with Windows 7. So here I am with Windows 10 finally up and running. So today is a big one. I'm really going to speak about my conversions to black and white, which is, of course, I do differently every time, and you will see several things that I do in this one. So I'm going to be showing you this image that I shot on the beach, and that is from my editorial that I shot Wednesday on the beach, and that is the original raw file. You can see right here. And so this was shot on the beach. As you can see, the sun is positioned behind her, and that's you can see the shadow from the sun. It's sufficiently blue sky and everything. And the reason she's not completely fallen to black is because there is a light, an alien bee with a beauty dish position right here, and that's kind of blasting her. It's a silver beauty dish with no sock on, and it's blasting her from this angle. So if any of you are curious to see the metadata for this image, here we are. So that's f14 1160, so 26 millimeter, and that's my 1735 Canon legacy lens. They don't make those anymore, but you can pick one up on eBay. They're still wonderful, still L series, a fantastic piece of glass. So this 26 millimeter ISO 100, all pretty straightforward. So f14 on wide angle allows for pretty crisp focus. The concept for the tutorial, I was actually approached by the magazine and they wanted to shoot a beach tutorial because I have no idea. I guess because they want to travel to the beach is my guess. Anyway, so they all gathered up there, and there were models, multiple child models. However, I did not really feel like child models and swimsuit is really my thing. So I was thinking for a long time as to how I would shoot it until I thought it's like, well, you know what? I know a perfect moment was involving a swimsuit and a child, and that is Adam's Family Values, the moment when Wednesday is in the Camp Chippewa. And when she's in Camp Chippewa and she's learning and she's doing this whole drowning scene there, and she's wearing this really old school, outdated early 20th century suit with swimsuit with a ton of body coverage. So that was my concept. I'm like, you know what? I'm perfectly comfortable with shooting children on the beach if they're dressed up like Wednesday Addams. So me and my wardrobe stylist, we sourced a whole bunch of like swimsuits that are as antique looking as possible. Was plenty of body coverage and stuff like that. So it's completely age appropriate, not and it was more of a gothic spin on it. So, and we called it Wednesday on the Beach, since we do not have any kind of rights to any kind of Adams Family name. We didn't want to use it obviously directly. I couldn't say Wednesday Adams on the beach, but I perfectly could say, since it was clearly inspired by. But I used Wednesday on the beach because I thought it's like, well, that's actually quite appropriate because it's certainly not a weekend on the beach. I mean, I really like that. I really like the concept that Wednesday is both the name and the day of the week. Anyways, so getting back to the images and being done with this whole story here. So this is, I mean, I shot all of this like that. We had some props. So the whole concept was basically a gothic child in a sour mood, completely uninterested in the beach part and the fun part, and just hanging out with the family on the beach and refusing to partake in any fun. So hence, no smiles, stiff poses, and just kind of like attitude on the face. And as I said, the wardrobe and props to match. Anyways, so what we have here is I had two. I mean, obviously the simple conversions that you do when you if I was to go into Photoshop directly and I was to switch to say black and white processing, and you can, I mean, you can do a lot of stuff directly here, and it's not necessarily a problem. So obviously for darkening of the sky, you can adjust with the blue and play with the blue level here. You can play with the skin tones, and because the skin tones are going to have more oranges and yellows and reds in them, while the sky is etc. But all of it is gonna and it looks a little different. And sometimes what happens is that I end up liking the sky in one version of my black and white image. Like say maybe I like the sky like this, like really darkened, maybe even darker like this, like really dramatic sky. Then I might like flowers from a different conversion. So I might like flowers from like conversion like this, where I mean I like really bright white flowers. But maybe I'm not happy with the skin tones, and I like the skin tones that are in a straightforward image. Maybe I just like the skin tones just as is. So I might like the sky from one, the skin from another, and the flowers from the third, which is how my processing of this image began. And so basically that's exactly what I've done. So I created a multiple files. So this is my retouched version, so you can see the before and after. Let me reset this. So here's my retouched version of the image. That was a little bit of retouching and analysis and adjusted, but overall not many differences. But then I created several conversions. So I have created this conversion for uber dramatic, over the top sky and ocean. And I picked this for the skin tones. And so what I've done later is I just combined the two things in one. Let's open it in Photoshop and take a look at it. So hold on, that's a finished version of a different. Hold on, I'm looking for the actual file where the two are combined. Here we are. This is the flowers. So here's, I mean, I'm pasting in the flowers from two different images. So as you can see, there's basically two black and white images layered on top of each other. But one has the bright flowers, and I just use the mask to mask out the white flowers while keeping everything else intact. So just, of course, you have to be very careful not to, mess up the sky the way you want it. And oops. There we are. So here's the image the way it is, just converted into black and white the way I liked for the skin tones. So that's directly from the image that I just did the basic skin retouching and a little bit of removing of the steps on the sand and all of that stuff. Then I pasted in dark sky. However, as you noticed, I did not paste it in completely, meaning it's not as dramatically black as it could have been. And there are reasons for that. There is a little bit of the using of the mask. And secondly, I played with opacity for the whole thing. So as you can see, I was actually, when I was pasting in a lot more, but I didn't want as much. So I was pulling back until I liked it. So and that was 55 opacity with this amount of masking in. And with masking in, I'm literally, so for example, so let's say if it was at 100%, you just create a mask, then you take a white brush, and then you just start uh, pasting, and coloring it in the way you want it. So, anyways, after that, so after I pasted in the sky, and that was what, 55%. I messed a little more with the skin tones. So like the whole darkening of the sky, when I was masking it in, I pasted a little bit onto her skin. If you notice, the edge of her skin changes a little bit because of the me pasting in the sky and the ocean, and I'm trying to do it very seamlessly. So I did not like the changes to her skin, like along here. It just looks very much like, blue filter, I mean red filter effect. So it looks like her arm is just completely just sunburned. So I was trying to lighten it up and make it a little more natural and open up a little bit in the colors. And that's how I left it. And so I was pretty happy with this. And I thought that if I wanted the sky a little more dramatic, I can always mess with it more in Lightroom, which is what I did. So here's in the end, the final results when I was choosing between several versions. I had this version and I had that version, with and without the different levels of black and white. And ultimately, I settled on this one, slightly darker skies, white flowers, and I made this up the contrast in Lightroom. Also made some conversions in Nix software Silver. What is it? Silver FX Pro. It was bought out by Google at some point, maybe like 5-10 years ago, and made free to everybody. And then it was discontinued. I'm lucky to still have that file, and I'm super pleased to find out that it still works on Windows 10. Ha! So I still got it. I mean, it's really just a sake of convenience. If it disappeared and I would not be able to use it ever again, oh, whoop to do. I'll leave. But it's nice that I can still have my familiar tools that speed up my process. Nonetheless, so I created this version that was, so just to compare straight black and white original and the final version. Actually, this one, I guess, right? Yeah. So this one are going to be without the borders and the same size, so you can see. So we started with this. This is the original. This is a straightforward black and white conversion of the image, the way you just convert to black and white. And that's after pasting in a more dramatic sky, pasting in the skin tone the way I like it, and bringing back the flowers, making the white thing. So all of that is achieved through opacity and masking with a low flow white brush. So I'm masking with a low flow white brush and then masking back in whatever I wanted, just messing back and forth. And so here we go. That's the image straight from the camera, and what I thought was the final version. And so I kept looking at that image, but I haven't posted it anywhere yet. Obviously, I made a tighter crop. Partially, the reason for the tighter crop is multiple here. I was not quite crazy about my angle, meaning I do not think that it's very good for her proportions specifically, meaning I think that I'm shortening her legs visually because of the angle that I picked. Partially because I was not really shooting for legs. I mean, I'm shooting a child and I'm shooting for the mood. So it was really intended kind of to be cropped right off the bat. I was really not into it. But, I mean, it was still, nonetheless, it was an option for me to keep it full body. But when I started to play with it, I realized that a tighter crop just looks better. And I did a unusual for me, very like 100% square crop. And I did an 8:10 ratio crop like that as well. Obviously, both Instagram friendly and convenient. I decided to add the little fake film frame to it. I don't know. I go through moods with those. Sometimes from time to time I bring them back, then I feel cheesy about it, and it's like, oh, those things are cheesy, and I stop using them. And then a year later I'm like, oh, those looks pretty cool. Ultimately, it's aesthetic choice, and There is a school of thought thinking this like images need to look, the way they are, and all those little fake things, are not realistic. However, none of it is realistic. Everything is fake. As soon as I pointed the camera and decided what's in the camera and what's not in the camera, I already made a fake version of this world. There was lots of things that were on this beach that did not end up being there. So my take on it is all of that is aesthetic choices, and you decide what goes and what's in it. And if you decide that if the image looks better with a fake frame, so be it. If you think that the image looks better without it, so be it. Here, I just felt like, knowing that it will be displayed on white most of the time, like on Instagram or on Facebook or wherever else people will be looking, chances are the background is going to be white. I didn't like how the sky was blending into the thing. So like I didn't like that effect where this just bleeds into that. I thought that creating a little stronger division border and making this forcing the frame onto the viewer just made for a better composition, and so I stuck with it. However, the more I was sitting with it and I slept on it and I woke up in the morning and I looked at the image again and I decided, you know what, this just looks a little too, not just unrealistic, but it's a little too like a pop song. I felt like this image was not. I mean, I always went for the darkening of the sky whenever I was processing this. Whenever I processed this editorial originally, I was shooting for a dark gothic sky. I went with that dark gothic sky. That was the intention. That's what I ended up with. However, looking with a set fresh of eyes, 5-6 years later, I looked at it and I'm like, why do I darken the skies? I understand that people tend to like it more like that. But as I've touched on several latest posts, my whole thing about what people like is becoming less and less important, meaning the older I get and the more I do photography, the more I feel appalled at my flirting with the majority opinion and trying to kind of like dumb down my images to the lowest common aesthetic denominator. So I thought about it, and you know what? I like dark sky just fine, but I kind of like the way just this black paint looks against the horizon. So I really like the idea of this dark umbrella tilted against the horizon, and that being the background, and the model just kind of is a straight line, bullet composition right slap in the middle. But I kind of like the umbrella, and when you'll notice in this dark processing, the umbrella is starting to get lost. The umbrella blends into the sky and no longer stands out against the sky as it does in a straightforward conversion. And guess what I've done? So I went back to the simplest version, this one. Canceled all those processing, canceled all that layering, canceled after hours I spent on messing with it. I completely removed all the processing, all the layering, all that masking, opacities and everything. Went back to a plain straight and white conversion of the image. Just basically up the contrast a little bit, darkened the darks, and left it as is. That's it. Here you so as natural as it gets. And so obviously the sky is completely gone now. There you can barely see the difference between the clouds and the sky. And it suddenly becomes all about this giant blob of a black umbrella, like a giant UFO floating in the sky. And the model is seen like against that background. And suddenly it becomes no longer about the sky and all about the umbrella. And that's the version that ended up being posted, and that's the version I ended up being with. So here you go. You have a pretty elaborate black and white conversion. We're using, 3-4 images, various different conversions, pasting, brushing in, low flow. And then all of that gets scrapped. I end up going with the image that I could have finished in 5 minutes. So be it. This is life. Anyways, so here is the all the versions, as you can see right here. So this is what we started with. Actually, let me use the 8:10 ratio at least. So the original image, then what I thought I would end up with, and the image that I actually picked. So it's just, to me, this one is a clear winner. This one is just now to me this one looks just massively overcooked. However, I just wanted to share with you all of that, not only to show you that sometimes all your work goes to waste, as in this case, but that in general, don't be afraid to play with opacity and masking in Photoshop as much as possible. Don't think that one black and white image is that some particular magic formula or magic preset in Lightroom is going to give you the perfect look for everything. One preset might look good for sky, another preset might look good for skin, third one for ocean, and fourth for the flowers. And feel free to combine them all in black and white, and then make your own black and white the way you want it. This power is one of my most favorite things about Photoshop Lightroom combination, that whole layering and non-destructive ability to do all these changes rather than plain dodging and burning, which is a lot more destructive. You can hear doing and brushing and fade in, fade out. It's an amazing power that we have at our fingertips nowadays. Anyways, so here's my thoughts, and I'm glad to be back, and then I will try to do several more posts before the end of this year. If you have any specific requests, or you want me to talk about any specific images of mine, please send me the messages. And of course, to all my subscribers from the higher tiers that I have scheduled the Zoom tutorials with, I'm ready to get back into that as well. So I'm sorry that I was a couple of weeks late with those. So because of the whole Windows snafu, but now I'm back and I can Zoom again. So so please get in touch with me, and let's schedule those Zoom lessons as well. Anyways, glad to hope you all are doing well. Hope you're all untouched by the pandemic. I hope you have a fantastic Christmas, and I actually hope to talk to you at least one more time before then as well. All right, thank you so much, and feel free to comment below.